What is going on, guys? So tonight I am out backpacking at Cliff Lake and it's clear skies and the moon is going to be setting early, and I figured it would be the perfect time to chat with you about how to take night photos. So that's what this video is all about. So let's talk about gear first. So camera gear specifically. What you're going to need is you're going to need a full frame camera. Yes, a crop sensor camera will become very grainy very fast and your photos won't be nice and crisp. You're going to need a tripod and you're going to need a lens that is a fast lens. So basically where the aperture has a lower number. So what you want is to get down to around 2.8 or lower than that. But the lower the number, the better. So that way you can add in as much light as possible. So this tip might be a little silly, but I do have to say it, is you're going to need fairly clear sky. So some clouds are cool and can add a really cool dynamic to your photos, but obviously if it's cloudy, you're not going to get good photos. You're not going to get any photos. So just make sure that you plan it out, check the weather, and that way you won't get out there and be disappointed. All right, so let's talk about the moon. So should there be a full moon? Should there be no moon? What phase of the moon should be the best for star photos? What do you guys think? Leave me a comment down below and let me know. Do you think full moon? Do you think no moon? Do you think half moon? What do you guys prefer? So for me, I prefer a little less than half moon. I want a little bit of moon. So the moon will give a little bit of light. Now if it's over half, if it's a full moon, it's going to be this bright, obnoxious light in the sky, and it's going to be blown out, and everything around it's going to be blown out, and then you will miss all your stars. So if there's no moon, then it's too dark and you're going to have to crank your ISO, which what happens when you crank your ISO? You're going to get really grainy photos. So if there's no moon, there's just not enough light. Now, I know a lot of people like to shoot with no moon. That's their preference. But for me and my preference, it's a little bit of moon. So a little bit less than half is is perfect for me. So that way I can shoot away from the moon, but I still have enough light that I don't have to crank my ISO. So this is probably my most important tip, at least it is for me, is how do you focus at night? How do you get those tack sharp images? So it's dark outside. How do you see anything? So a lot of people will say, oh, just focus to infinity. But the thing is, infinity has that little tiny bit of wiggle room. And guess what? That little bit of wiggle room is really it's just going to make or break your image. So what I like to do is scout out my location first. I'll set up my camera, I'll set everything up, I'll focus my lens, get the best focusing point, and then that way when I come back out at night, all I have to do is go focus to that spot and you know that you're golden, you know that you're going to get these tack sharp images. So the Zeiss, I've been shooting with the Zeiss 18mm lens, and it actually tells you a number where you're focusing at. Now other cameras, what you can do is you can actually put a little piece of tape to mark that focusing spot, so then that way you know that you're going right back to that spot. Believe me, do this, because when you get home and your images aren't sharp, you're gonna be frustrated. So you've done everything. You've followed all the tips up until now. Now it's dark. Now what? How do you make sure, what settings do you use? So what I like to do, you're gonna have to play. Just trust me and play around with it until you get the right settings. And every single time you go out, you're gonna have to play. You're never gonna be able to use the same settings twice. It's the same as any landscape shot. So what I like to do is my starting point is ISO 2000, my f is 2.8, and then my shutter speed is 10 seconds, and then I adjust from there. Now what you want to pay attention to is to not decrease your shutter speed, have a longer exposure to where you're going to start getting little bits of streaks in the sky. Now there's a rule called the 500 rule, and we can get into that into a different video, but basically just don't go below 20 seconds. 20 seconds is even super iffy because you're gonna start getting that movement. So you have your focus like on point, and then you leave your shutter open for too long, and all of a sudden your photo looks blurry even though it's not. So that's really where I start, and then I play from there. Pretty much all my photos are shot at 10 seconds or 15 seconds, and then I bump my ISO accordingly. So I always take a few different ones. I take an ISO 2000, 2500, 3200, and 4000. And that way I know when I get home I'm going to be able to have that right exposure. Sometimes it's really difficult to make sure that you have the right exposure on your back of camera because your LCD is super bright and it's dark and it looks really good, and then you get it home and you put it into Lightroom and your whole photo is completely black. So that's kind of what I like to do. I like to take a little bit of a variety, so that way when I get home, put it in Lightroom, I can pick one of those images and I know it'll be good. Bonus tip is get an app. Get an app, and that way you can actually plan your entire session so much better. So me, I use Photo Pills. It's like a $10 app, one-time fee, but guess what? It's going to tell you where the Milky Way is. It's going to tell you what time sunrise and sunset is. It's going to tell you moonrise and moonset. It's going to tell you how big the moon is going to be. It's so worth it to make sure that you get really good shots. And then that way when you come out here, you can just look at your app and you can make sure that, you know, the Milky Way shows up like tonight. The Milky Way shows up at 9:21. So I know that I have to be there later than 9:21 to make sure that I get a Milky Way image if that's the image I'm going for. So look into apps. I use Photo Pills. Yeah, it's awesome. Alright guys, stay tuned to the end of the video and you'll see the pictures that I got from tonight, this evening. The Milky Way is going to be a little bit off to the side of the cliff. Anyways, whoa. Yeah, I'm sorry. So anyways, the Milky Way is going to be a little bit off to the side, and just stay tuned to see what images I got using the tips that I gave you today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more from me, and if you want to see daily photos, check out my Instagram. It's Bessie Young Photography. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you in my next video.